No ID is meant for a sane audience. No ID may contain liberty-oriented content. Pinko discretion is advised. Now, here's No ID with Paul Banducci and Scott Moskowitz.
Hey, welcome back to No ID, North Idaho's media deconstruction, mainstream media deconstruction. I'm Scott.
And I'm Paul. Hello, Internet.
Howdy.
How are we today?
Well, I think I'm going to need to already take a break real quick just to get up out of my chair and go, give a stir to the homebrew I got going in the bathtub.
You better make sure it's not contaminated.
I was introducing Paul before we clicked the live button here to some of my podcast days from yesteryear on the Brewing Network, where we covered the Alabama state legislature arguing over the bill to legalize home brewing back in 2010. Alabama was the last state to legalize home brewing, and the arguments that the representatives on the state house floor were giving in opposition to this bill is it's just comedy gold. Some of it was just, I feel like it was perfect for our show, craft beer and home brewing, but I feel like the comedy transcended the niche.
Instant classic stuff. 2010, like I'm thinking about that. 2010 in Alabama finally ended the prohibition on home brewing. I mean, my God, almost a full century after prohibition started, and I guess 80 years after it ended, and we finally allow home brewing. Good job, Alabama. Yeah.
And federally, it was legalized in the 70s. So it had been legal already 40 years on the federal level. And then it didn't even pass in 2010. It failed. It wasn't legalized until 2011.
Oh, 2011. Golly, prohibition works every time. I'm sure that up until 2011, nobody in Alabama was home brewing.
Oh, no, of course not. No, it was Pruno in the jails, and then that was it. None of the citizens were breaking the law. They were just getting Chivas Regals at the store because that was stamped and approved by the government agency to make sure it's healthy.
You got to play the regulated clip.
When did Idaho legalize home brewing? Relevant statute was first added in 1939. Originally permitted brewing wine or beer for one's personal family guest use. It was amended in 1999 and later in 2020 to clarify quantities and remove outdated restrictions.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, originally in 1939.
They actually eased restrictions slightly in 2020 in Idaho, somewhat as a response to what was going on with the COVID stuff, but also because home brewing was a clearly growing trend. And in 2020, the craft brewing scene was still a bit of a thing. Here we are in 2026, and man, how quickly trends can shift and change. And now craft brewing is not much of a thing at all. Dead or dying, most would say. So amazing what a difference 5 or 6 years makes, huh, Scott?
It's unbelievable. Yeah, the rapidity. And a lot of it is just, the kids, quote unquote, who are, 14 or 15 years old, in 2020, who are now 20 or 21. They're not replacing the millennials who've aged out of the craft beer thing. They aren't interested.
I agree. The problem is that the kids are not drinking enough alcohol. We got to fix that.
Yeah. They're smoking weed and not drinking, and this is a huge problem.
That is a problem. All right, you got to, just for grins for our audience, you got to play one of these clips.
Okay, let me pull it up.
It's rich.
Where are we at?
Basically, just think Idaho politicians when it comes to things like liquor, poker, any drug that isn't FDA approved. This is how Idaho behaves also, minus the endearing accents.
This one it's the won't somebody please think of the children?
I don't think you want to do this to your children, do you?
Is that for reals?
Yeah, it's for real. I got to add that.
Gosh.
That's Alvin Holmes.
PSA, if you homebrew, you are an abusive, terrible parent.
That's what he's saying.
Chivas Regals is stamped and approved by the governmental agencies that said this is healthy.
Now, the thing I like to drink should be subject to different laws than the thing I don't like to drink.
Well, because it's healthy.
Because the FDA says so.
Hold on, I got more. Here's more. Won't somebody please think of the children?
You don't want your child at a party Our children are already getting a hold to enough alcohol.
What? What?
What? There's more.
The kids are just walking around, 40s in their hands. Now we're filling up the bathtub.
What gonna keep these folks from making moonshine in their house?
God forbid we have moonshine in the house. Oh no!
You got to drop the S. It's how. How? Listen closely.
What gonna keep these folks from making moonshine in their house?
How?
In the house. All this moonshine up in the house.
Their house.
We need to relegate this so it not contaminated.
Okay, here's somebody that's not Alvin. Or actually, that wasn't Alvin. That was somebody else.
But it was strictly illegal.
There you go. That was the inspiration for Strictly Illegal, which may be on YouTube. I got to pull it up. One of our listeners remixed all of these different arguments into a sort of techno song that we used to play before shows.
I'm against this thing. Why? Because it's illegal. Oh, that's your argument?
You know, the thing about this deal that really scares me the most is our children.
Wow, the children.
A couple more. I can't stop. I can't stop.
Man, you gonna make everybody up there wino.
You're going to make everybody a wino. Legalize homebrewing. Is that not just his goal?
Man, you gonna make everybody up there wino.
This is North Idaho media deconstruction. I swear we're gonna get to it, but you just have.
Yeah,
to
but it's relevant because Idaho politicians act like this too. Again, just minus the endearing accents.
You got to be scientifically trained to determine that.
I think my new favorite after contaminated and regulated is we're gonna make everybody a wino.
Oh yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm over here just like.
I thought this was America. Huh? Isn't this America? I'm sorry. I thought this was America.
He went on. There was, from the full testimony of Mr. Alvin Holmes, he sort of went on about how he got into this like rambling biblical thing where he was like, you know, in the story of Noah, and then it was like sort of, it was really discombobulated as I recall, but there were some moments where he's basically saying like Noah was a drunk and so therefore we shouldn't allow homebrewing.
You ain't heard about Noah was a wino.
Was a wino?
No,
that's why he built that big old boat.
You ain't heard that?
About Noah.
You ain't heard that, dude?
Was a wino.
That would explain why he built a boat in the middle of nowhere. And then was like, I hope it rains.
There's that guy who's drunk on Pruno building a boat in the middle of the desert.
Okay, conspiracy theory time. Maybe, Scott, the ark wasn't a boat at all, but a giant bathtub so Noah could make moonshine.
Wow, you're blowing my mind.
Noah was a little wino.
All right, we got to move on from this. It's giving me cancer.
I'm telling you, I got so much of it that just never ended. I've got dozens of them.
No, that's amazing.
Oh,
Thank you, Alvin Holmes from Alabama, 2010. Thank you so much.
He was a hero.
Your
He was a personal
to
hero
society.
Of us at the Brewing Network. We salute Mr. Holmes. I have no idea where he is today. He's probably dead, to be honest about it. As I recall, he was overweight and kind of old. He'd been in Congress since around the time Idaho legalized homebrewing.
He was probably in Congress since the time Noah built that big old bathtub.
You know, actually, now that I think about it, it's like Koolschi. I forget exactly how you spell it, but coolship is a term in brewing. It's like a big, shallow, open pool, and sour beers can be made that way because it's like open to the air, open fermentation. So there is a such thing as a coolship. So maybe coolship actually just came from the Ark. I never thought about that.
Dude, that's what Alvin Holmes had in mind when he was talking about contaminated and getting Ebola in the beer because it's open air brewing.
Ebola. I think it was E. coli.
And you know what?
Equally ridiculous.
On a personal
Maybe more
note,
ridiculous.
The way sours taste, I believe Alvin Holmes on that one.
You may not be you don't like acidity in general. Is that fair to say?
I don't like vinegar. I don't want my beer
well, then you haven't had
tasting like vinegar.
You haven't had the right sour beer then, because there's no vinegar in good sour beers.
And real
acidic.
Socialism hasn't been tried yet. I know.
Well, this is, hey, I have to be scientifically trained to determine that. I'm telling you, acidity and vinegar are two different things, and I hate vinegar too, but I enjoy acidity in the right context. And good sour beers have no vinegar at all. They just have good acidity. So maybe
Listen, sir, I made a living with my mouth for 12 years. I'm a super taster. I know the difference between acidity and vinegar. Sour beers are terrible in general. We can continue that debate later. The people want to hear about other stuff.
Yes, they do.
I'm ready.
Well, you sent me a couple of Coeur d'Alene Press editorials, which I've plugged into 11 Labs. So why don't we start with the legislative session has started, and this is the Coeur d'Alene Press's summary of what they say the people want. Let's start there.
As Idaho's legislative session is underway, we ask the most obvious question of all: what do the people want? Thanks to the Mountain States Policy Center, we have a pretty good idea. The nonprofit think tank based in Idaho recently released its 2026 Idaho poll, which surveyed 600 registered Idaho voters about their hopes and goals for the legislature and what they want legislators to focus on. Here are some of the findings.
So here's I kind of separated them into sections because the way the press did it, because this was a written article, it was like header and then the explanation, header and then the explanation. So here's the first one.
A reform-minded electorate. Nearly half of voters say Idaho is headed in the right direction, but a majority believe reducing regulations and improving the business environment would do more to improve the state than expanding government programs.
So in other words, a minority, but many hundreds of thousands of people presumably think that expanding government is the way to improvement and prosperity.
Think that expanding government?
Well, that's what he said.
But a majority believe reducing regulations and improving the business environment would do more to improve the state than expanding government programs.
A majority. So in other words, a minority believe that increasing regulations and expanding government is the way.
Oh, gotcha. Now I understand what you're saying. Okay. Man, I was about to argue with you but now we agree. So that's a bummer. We agree.
You thought I was making the point. Okay. Well,
I totally did. I was like, did we read the same paragraph? But no, actually, this is encouraging. Although the sampling size is small, 600 out of a state of 2.1 million. Of course, registered voters, I think are we for registered voters in the state of Idaho? It's somewhere like 750,000, I think. Might even be more. So small sample size, but it's encouraging. I don't think the press expected this. The question always is, what does that look like? Like, what does that look like in people's minds? To me, that means, well, that's easy. Less government, less regulation. Get rid of it. Take shit off the books. Cut through the red tape. Stop creating more laws. Focus on getting rid of all of the crappy laws that are already out there. Spend less money. Make cuts. Employ fewer people with the government. There should be fewer government employees. All of those things. That works in that direction. That's what the people want, or at least more than half. That's not going to happen. But it's what we want.
The 2024 general election cycle, as of then, 1,178,000 registered voters in Idaho.
Oh, I was way off. Wow. Oh, so over half.
When is that population figure out? As of
2.1?
Yeah.
A year or two ago?
Oh, is it? Okay, let's look. Population of Idaho. Yeah, you're right. A little over 2 million.
Yeah. It's all relative too, right? Because like 2.1 million seems like so much for Idaho now. Growing up here, the population is, it's almost doubled, I think, in the time I've been living here. Hilariously enough, it's in the entire state of Idaho still has fewer people than LA.
Oh my God, dude, it's not even close. I grew up in LA County. LA County has I believe it's over 7 million or 8 million. I mean, it's not even anywhere in the same ballpark.
That's so gross.
Isn't it? It's crazy. I think the stat is something like 42 states, like Los Angeles County has a bigger population than 42 of 50 states. That might not be exactly correct, but it is very close to that.
Reason enough to stay away.
Here's the next section.
Overwhelming support for transparency. Large majorities support measures requiring advance public notice of legislative hearings, more transparent disclosure of gas taxes at the pump, and stronger transparency requirements for public school spending.
More transparency. Yeah. We do have some public school spending stuff a little later on in the show, but as of now,
we do.
Let's continue on with the rest of this editorial.
Strong appetite for tax relief and guardrails.
Which isn't really even an editorial. They're just saying this is what the poll of this one company says.
Strong appetite for tax relief and guardrails. Voters favor automatic income tax reduction triggers when revenues exceed expectations, and support requiring a legislative supermajority to raise taxes. Property and income taxes top the list of taxes voters would most like to see reduced.
That's a beautiful thing here. God, I'm loving this. It's a beautiful thing. It's so refreshing to see that. I mean, we don't know how big of a majority. And again, it's a small sampling size, but man, this all sounds nice, doesn't it, Scott?
Well, other than property and income taxes, the other taxes that voters wish to see reduced is capital gains tax, payroll tax, alternative minimum tax, use tax, value-added tax, excise tax, luxury tax, sin tax, real estate tax, personal property tax, capital transfers tax, carbon tax, energy tax, severance tax, water usage or pollution tax, lodging tax, tourist tax, vehicle registration tax, parking tax, entertainment tax, sin, blah, 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 blah. So, but yeah.
Oh, death tax.
Short list. Oh, yeah, death tax. So there's a short list of taxes that there are about 50 more that I didn't go through, taxes that we would like to see reduced.
Hey, we'll start here. Anywhere is better than nowhere, I guess.
Education concerns paired with accountability. Most voters rate Idaho public schools as fair or poor and support policies that expand parental options and improve transparency rather than simply increasing spending.
Okay, this is actually, I think of all of them, this is the most encouraging to me because this is where the tree of liberty grows. This is where the long game is played. I've been saying this for many years to anybody who will listen. I have hope in the next few generations because, and I'm a pretty pessimistic guy. Like, some say the glass is half full, some say the glass is half empty. I look at it and I go, I'm pretty sure this is piss. But in this case,
it's sour beer, man. Just enjoy it.
Might be sour beer. The more people get to experience school choice, educational choice, the more that they will pry themselves away from state-run establishmentarian education, the more libertarian and freedom-minded the population becomes each new generation. I'm so excited about that. My kids and your kids, Scott, are going to be, thus far, the least institutionalized generation in 100 years or more.
Boy, is that true.
And that was one of the silver linings of COVID, like the school shutdowns from COVID, thank God. And then when they finally did go back into session and parents got to see what was going on, parents were like, enough is enough. Not, obviously not all of them, but a good solid percentage. And so homeschooling is higher than it's ever been before by a wide margin, and it's increasing. Charter schools, same thing. Private schools, same thing. Pod schooling, micro schooling. Basically, at this point, over 15% of the youth population is not in state-run indoctrination camps right now, and that's only increasing. It's great news. And to see Idaho rate public schools as fair or poor. Now again, small sampling size, so I don't want to get too excited about this, but that's great news. If you can identify the problem or part of the problem and know you need to get away from it, I mean, we're already on our way here. And with HB 93, there's a fight brewing with that, and the fight pits unions against parents and the establishment against everybody else. We'll see, and I think establishment and the unions are gonna lose. It's gonna be close, but they're gonna lose. And if they do lose, then the floodgates open up.
Describe what it is quickly.
Oh, HB 93. HB 93, while not being perfect, far from perfect, it can use some tweaks and whatnot. But it's a step in the right direction. It is, in a nutshell, and I'm not going to do it justice, it's effectively creating access to a tax credit for families that are under a particular income threshold. And that tax credit goes towards alternative schools, particularly private schools. And there is, I think, some maneuvering room for homeschooling families in there as well. I don't have the details fully on the homeschooling side of it because it doesn't actually apply to us. We homeschool, but because we also utilize a couple of programs like Home Ed 360 and Braintree, which are under this organization called the Idaho Home Learning Academy. Idaho Home Learning Academy is essentially satellite or remote learning via the state of Idaho. So technically it is considered, state of Idaho still education. It's under that umbrella. It's still, you're technically considered publicly educated if you are involved in those programs. But the benefit of being involved in those programs is you get small, not large, but small reimbursements or rebates, if you will, on what you spend on education. So like if we buy curriculum for our kids and let's say the curriculum costs us $250, well, we get reimbursed from the state of Idaho for that. And I think the cap on it is, for us, it's like $1,200 a student. So we get a paltry, like just over $2,000 total for the year to spend on our kids for our own kids' education.
And this, so just to clarify, this is different than, because we discussed this on the last show. Is it different than the tax credits one, or is it this the same bill?
Yeah, that's a different thing. And actually, being involved in ILA, the Idaho Home Learning Academy, actually renders us as what's the word I want? Compatible is not the right word. Ineligible for this tax credit. We actually can't take advantage of it, unfortunately, Mary and I. So that sucks. Even though we homeschool our kids, but partially under the umbrella of Idaho Home Learning Academy. So we are ruled ineligible. But a lot of families who want to make use of private schools or homeschool without being under the Idaho Home Learning Academy umbrella, they will have access to some funds, which makes perfect sense. First off, competition is always good. Always. It breeds better choices. It makes for more efficient things. And education has to be tailored to the consumer, which is the parents and the students. God forbid we actually tailor education to each individual student and family. Oh my gosh, what a novel concept. On top of that, all of us pay taxes in some way, shape, or form, even if you don't pay income taxes, which a lot of people don't, but a lot of people do. And in Idaho, it's 7%, minimum 7%, no matter what you make. That doesn't sound like a lot, but it still adds up on top of federal income taxes. But then there's property taxes to the tune of thousands a year. There's all the taxes Scott just listed off. And the majority of that goes to schools because 60% of the Idaho budget is for education, quote unquote education. So it's just a way for Idaho families to get their own money back to spend on their own kids.
Yeah, it's not a check in the mail. It's a rebate on taxes you've already paid.
Correct. Which is money you should be able to fucking keep in the first place. Spend how you see fit on your own kids. But I digress.
There's
Anyways,
one last section.
The worm may be turning on this.
Well, hopefully. There's one last segment of the press article, but let me play quickly the reaction, because the tax credit one, the one that you're unfortunately not eligible for, that just started. And so let me play this quickly before we go back to the article.
The application for Idaho's new parental choice tax credit is open now, but its availability is getting some pushback.
On Thursday, lawmakers opened Idaho's new parental tax credit. It sets $50 million of state funds aside to help families who aren't using the public school system with education costs. Lawmakers approved the program last year. Families can get up to $5,000 per child, or $7,500 for a student with a disability. If qualified families can...
Now, there's the deceptive nature of the presentation from the mainstream. That is presented as if it is a check in the mail. Oh, you get $5,000 for this and $7,500 for that. No, you don't. There are tax rebates on taxes you've already paid. Now, if there's more, if there's an excess, then it does come back to you. But let's not pretend you're not already paying the rest of that in federal taxes and sales taxes and all that. But it's just this is a mainstream deconstruction.
Very disingenuous.
So what kind of a presentation is that? That is not reporting.
Per child, or $7,500 for a student with a disability. If qualified families can use the money for things like textbooks, tutoring, and some forms of transportation, among other things. The credit's gaining support from the nationwide nonprofit Yes, Every Kid Foundation. They released a statement on the tax application opening, saying in part, this program expands real options for families by opening the door to a wider range of learning environments that reflect students' unique needs, interests, and circumstances. Meanwhile, the Idaho Education Association sued to block the program. They argue it violates the state constitution by using public taxpayer funds to benefit private education.
Okay, so here's the premise that we operate from so differently from the other side, from the teachers' unions and the establishmentarians and whatnot, is that in their minds, and they even chant this, they will use this as a chant, public funds for public schools. Somehow, because I don't know if it's because they're just this economically illiterate, although that's likely, and also it fits their agenda, also likely, it always is forgotten that public funds comes one of two ways. Either it's extorted from us, the public, and or it's printed out of thin air. And since Idaho doesn't control the printing presses, aka the Federal Reserve, it's one way in Idaho, and that's it's stolen from us. So I'm the public. I want my money back to educate my kids, but it's okay for them to extort it from me to use it how they see fit on everything that is not for me. Things I don't approve of, things I don't want, services we don't want, services we don't use, an entire system that is total garbage that we want nothing to do with. And yet in their minds, it's moral to extort money from me and pay for that. It is somehow immoral for me to get my money back to use for my own kids. Think about that. And that's how these people think. It's a mental illness.
Along the lines of, like I said, we have one more section on that Coeur d'Alene Press article, but what you said about the institutionalization of our kids and people like us being the least institutionalized generation in maybe since like before the Industrial Revolution. There was a comment from, it was actually a YouTube comment on one of these, well, whatever. It was a YouTube comment, and I included it on the actual, we have another Coeur d'Alene Press article, editorial, and I had put it on that segment, like I was going to play it there, but I think it's really relevant to A, me saying I grew up in LA County, and B, you saying the lack of institutionalization of our kids. This is from, it's a rant, I don't know, AWSMFC, just someone who left this comment on a YouTube video.
As a former Californian, I just wanted to tell people that most people moving to Idaho are conservative, often more conservative than many native Idahoans. But Idahoans are unwittingly slowly turning the state liberal. How?
Also true.
They hire mostly white liberal women for the school staff, including teachers and principals. They are starting to push the liberal, anti-white, anti-man, anti-American agenda in schools. The school system here is the problem, not most of the Californians. That is exactly where the BS started in blue states, back in the 1990s with liberal women pushing their agenda onto kids from as early as elementary school.
I lived it.
Yeah, well, that we've talked about this before when we talk about the Californians moving up here, and the latest wave being the most conservative wave that there has been, because there's lots, there's been multiple waves of influx here, and mostly from California. And this latest wave, since the COVID shutdowns, has been the most conservative. To your point, Scott, it's because you guys have seen it. You've seen it. You've lived it. You've seen it in real time. You know what it looks like. You know the markers. You know the red flags. You know the actors. And it's happening in North Idaho, and we don't see it because there's a prevailing mentality that, that could never happen here. Well, the only reason it hasn't happened harder or further than we already are seeing is because there's just enough of us, both new migrants, so to speak, and a few of us natives who have fought hard for a long time. There's just enough of us who have been stemming the tide. But it's a hard-fought battle. And yeah, it starts with state-run education. But they know that. That's why they know that, Scott. That's why the establishment and the teachers' unions and the politicians and all of those hardcore statists support state-run indoctrination camps, otherwise known as public schools. That's why they support it so hard. And that's why they try to shut down school choice. That's why they try to funnel all the money towards it. That's why they try to lock everybody into the system. It's because if you can teach the youth from a young age that the state is the answer for everything, then people will fasten the shackles to their own ankles.
Well, as one of the migrants that you speak of, I'm opening up my own quality leering center. What do you think about that?
Hear, hear.
Here is the last part of that press article.
Housing affordability is a top concern. An overwhelming majority view housing affordability as a serious problem, with broad support for regulatory reforms, such as allowing accessory dwelling units and speeding up permitting approvals. Stable approval of state leaders. Idaho's governor, legislature, and U.S. senators maintain net positive approval ratings, signaling an electorate open to constructive policy leadership. No doubt Governor Brad Little...
The rub. I don't know if you probably have heard this or seen this. Every time they do a poll across the nation and they poll Americans as a whole on their opinion of the federal House and Senate, the U.S. Congress, and Congress always polls right around 12% approval rating. Everybody hates them and they're the worst. But then when you break it down individually and you poll people in their individual states or districts about how they feel about their legislators, approval ratings shoot up to 50, 60, 70%.
Isn't that interesting?
That's how that paragraph feels. So stable approval of state leaders. We want, 600 people polled want all of these things that we just listed, while at the same time going, but yeah, the governor's doing a good job, even though the governor has actively worked against all of these things that people say they want. The legislature, we like them too, even though the legislature has mostly worked against it. And once in a while, when they do something positive, it's slow, it's lethargic, and it's a Herculean effort. It's just wild, right? So this is the rub right here. It's like, we want these other 7 things that are all good things, but we're totally cool with the people we voted for who are not giving us those things.
No doubt Governor Brad Little and our legislators have an array of challenges ahead. As the press has already written, a balanced budget through reduced spending is a must. But citizens, per this poll, have other priorities, including the big 3: education, housing, and tax relief. We note that overwhelming support for
that paragraph, and I didn't tell you because I wanted it to be a surprise for this. That paragraph right there and that statement right there is why I sent you this article. I mean, the rest of it was a little surprising, like, oh, this is what the people want. Well, that's kind of the same stuff I want. So that's a pleasant surprise. But then I got down to it and I read this article. And I say, I'm going to read it again. No doubt Governor Brad Little and our legislators have an array of challenges ahead. Yeah, duh. As the press has already written, a balanced budget through reduced spending is a must. So all of a sudden the press is like, yeah, we're fiscal hawks now.
Well, what's the next word?
No doubt.
So
go ahead.
But citizens, per this poll, have other priorities. No, they don't. I don't where is the press getting off on this? The shit that we just read off, that they just listed off, that people want, are all things that require less spending, less taxing, less stuff, less regulations, less government intervention and oversight, all of which cuts the budget back. That should lead to reduced spending. So what the fuck are you talking about, press?
Not so fast.
A balanced budget through reduced spending is a must. But citizens, per this poll, have other priorities.
Yeah, interesting catch there. Where in the poll does that? So what do they say they are?
Including the big 3: education, housing, and tax relief.
Housing, tax relief. Okay, so, and this is very telling. The education, that is if you're reading into it, you know what's going on. That is a thinly veiled jab at bills like HB 93 and the push for more educational choice, because in the press's mind, along with all the establishmentarians and the educational industrial complex and the teachers unions and all that, to them, $100 billion for public schools is not enough. $50 million to allow people to escape this hellscape of a system that they have created is what's going to break the bank. And that's how they couch it. And tax relief is also a bad thing and a budget buster, because as the Democrats believe, the issue isn't that we spend too much. The issue is that we just don't tax ourselves into prosperity enough. So this paragraph tells you everything you need to know about the press politics. And that's why I sent you this article, Scott.
We note that overwhelming support for transparency was also cited, and we would love to see improvement in that area. Moving forward, we hope our elected leaders.
They're not elected leaders, you psychos. They're elected representatives. Why is that so freaking difficult for people? Why do people want to be led so badly?
Mm-hmm.
Our elected leaders, it's pathetic.
Yeah.
God.
It just threw up in my mouth a little.
Yet when our elected leaders are in the room, you make sure you don't just bow, but you do that thing where it's like the yoga pose where you get on your knees and then like kiss the ground, with your nose touching the asphalt and your hands way out in front of you. That's the position you need to be in front of your elected leaders.
You must shout, "I am not worthy," as you do it.
Seriously.
And then when you get up to ask for a favor, you go, "Beg my pardon, my lord, but if it pleases the crown, May I please have my own money back to pay for my children?
By the way, this is exactly why the masking was embraced so much. Just to go back to that again, if you'll forgive me. I don't think I've shared this on the show, but I read The Travels of Marco Polo. Have you ever read that book?
No, I have not. But I'm familiar with the historical character.
So it's from the 12th century, I believe, or the 11th century. He was an Italian explorer, as people some probably know, where the pool game comes from. And he did like the Silk Road. He toured Asia, not toured, he explored it, and he had a big posse with him, maybe 100, 200, I forget the exact number, but he had a large amount of Italians. And this is during the reign of the Khans. And there was a segment, the book itself is very sort of utilitarian, like, oh, you take this road for this many days, and then we stayed at this place for this thing and then this amount of time, and then we got back on the road and we went to that place. The most descriptive part of the book, most colorful, was during the time they were with the Khan family. I think it was under Kublai Khan, and how they were sort of welcomed. Polo and his posse were welcomed by the Khans. And it was like, oh, it's during the summer, they're at the palace at Xanadu, and then during the winter, they're at this other palace. And anyway, the whole point that I'm making here is there was one section where he was describing being at a meal, in the grand dining hall, with all of the royalty, and they're surrounded, like all four sides of the table are, there's like servants lined up waiting to serve, waiting to take this plate and deliver that bowl and whatever. Well, at a certain point, he mentions that the servants are masked. And I was like, wait a minute, did I just really read that? And I went back and read it again.
Interesting.
And yup, the servants that were serving now there's a lot of them. You can imagine there's dozens in that dining hall surrounding this huge table, maybe even hundreds of masked up servants. The notion of masking up the slave class is not new. So when I see AOC at the what the hell is that ball where she was wearing the tax the rich dress?
Yeah. Some gala of some kind.
Gala, the Met Gala. Is it gala or gala?
Yeah. I don't know.
Like what? Okay. The Met Gala. And I see her not masked, and all the little photographer pissants snapping away with their flash bulbs, and they're all masked up. You think this is new? You think this is a phenomenon that has something to do with disease? Well, I mean, ostensibly it does, because, that was sort of the idea with the Khans. Like, well, we don't want your little disease vector servants breathing on our food. So I suppose in that way peasants. It is. But this phenomenon is not new, and using language like leaders is what leads to this sort of slave behavior.
Well, the irony of that particular event, it's a microcosm of a larger issue, because stuff like this happens all the time. But the irony goes even richer when you dig just slightly deeper into it and realize how much money that dress cost. And the designer of that dress, being a very affluent person, the dress itself, the tickets to the gala were what? They were like $100,000, or it was a lot.
Oh yeah.
To get a ticket into that thing was a lot. So they're out there talking about eating the rich or taxing the rich, but every person in the joint is wealthy. So with a dress that costs $10,000. And the kicker, I don't remember her name, but the name of the designer, the gal who designed the dress that AOC wore, ended up getting into trouble for owing back taxes for like 3 years. So she was in trouble for not paying taxes while designing a dress that literally said tax the rich. And that's true. Look it up. It is a real thing. It was, file that under shit you just cannot make up, no matter how hard you try. Fantastic.
Okay, hold on. Describe the controversy with the designer and not paying taxes. Okay, custom dressed. That was the 2021 Met Gala. Aurora James is the designer, and her business entity had outstanding tax debts and tax warrants in multiple jurisdictions. According to multiple records cited in press reports, the company open tax warrant. IRS had planned federal liens, unpaid taxes, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay, you're absolutely right. Isn't that amazing? I never heard that one.
Right? without a shred of irony.
Unbelievable. Well, you know what?
These people operate and live their lives without a shred of irony.
It could be the reason that the words affluent and effluent are so closely related.
Ew.
Let's move along here to...
Gotcha, bitch.
Got him. Should we do here? You know what? We'll get a little lighter here since we're just hammering the tax machine gun as usual, and I feel like a little levity may be in order. So let's talk about the pickleball court coming to Post Falls.
The pickleball craze is expanding in North Idaho. Post Falls is getting 24 new indoor courts in June. The $5 million facility called the Flying Pickle will be the largest pickleball facility in the area. So according to our news partners at the Coeur d'Alene Press, the Flying Pickle will be eligible to host both professional and amateur pickleball association tournaments.
Let me play this. There's just a little excerpt here from this. I don't think he's related to the business. Maybe he was paid to do this, but it's like somebody did like a little tour of the one in Meridian. So here's something from that guy's video describing the facility.
Welcome to the Flying Pickle. Pickleball is taking over the country, and Idaho is finally hopping on the wave. No more second-class citizenship at tennis clubs or playing at crack parks in sub-freezing temperatures. Now Idahoans can play year-round in a temperature-controlled building on premium cushioned courts. Designed and co-founded by real pickleball pros Susanna Barr and Nick Peterson, the Flying Pickle is sought.
Yeah, I did a little dive, a little rabbit hole, because I had the same question, like, really? How much do pro pickleball players make? And what do these tournament circuits look like? There is a professional association. There are tournaments. The handful of the tippy top of the sport, I think they're making 7 figures from what I could find on the internet from sponsorships and tournament money and stuff. So, yeah, dude, it's a thing. It is not the first pickleball wave. This seems to be the biggest one, and we're sort of in the middle of it now, which, who knows if this will look like the craft beer wave. But it has happened before, but more so sort of in like the retirement community set, like the older adults.
I knew the boomers were into pickleball.
Yeah, they were big into it, and that sort of petered out. But now it seems like it's become a trend among millennials.
You mean it pickled out?
The Flying Pickle is sought to create the ultimate pickleball experience. Really, the allure of pickleball is the social aspect.
What do you think since this is like, millennials are driving this spike here, this trend, and this facility is catering to them. Yeah. What do you think is going to be the feature of this place?
Well, I'll tell you what I think as a millennial, what I immediately think of.
Morty, Rick, where are you? On my workbench, Morty. Are you invisible and you're gonna fart on me? Flip the pickle over. What? I'm gonna touch it and you're gonna tell me it's an alien dick or something. Come on, flip the pickle, Morty. You're not gonna regret it. The payoff is huge. I turned myself into a pickle, Morty. Boom! Big reveal. I'm a pickle.
Pickle Rick. That's all I can think about with a pickleball court.
All right. Well, here's all millennials can think about when they go to pickleball
aspect, and the Flying Pickle understands that. Immediately after you check in, you'll find the kitchen, a restaurant with food, snacks, coffee, and best of all, beer and wine.
What?
Head upstairs, and you'll find
beer. Oh, are they going to open up a craft brewery in the pickleball arena,
specializing in sour beer,
beer and wine?
Oh my God, that is peak millennial.
Peak millennial. Head upstairs and you'll find this huge lounge with an incredible view of all the pickleball action. It sits right over the championship
So not only
court.
can you play pickleball, you can watch pickleball with a craft beer in your hands from a huge lounge.
I cut this part out for brevity, but he was also saying how they didn't skimp on the TV budget because up in said lounge, there are TVs lining the walls, like a couple dozen of them, but all of them are playing pickleball around the clock.
Okay. So you can watch pickleball while watching pickleball.
And eating a pickle, presumably, like as a little dill side of your hamburger, And he was saying like, oh, hey, I hope the Flying Pickle brings Sunday football maybe or something other than pickle. He's like, I appreciate the pickleball immersion, but maybe you could work in one TV playing something else.
It sits right over the championship court, providing the best seat in the house. The big center lane between the courts is filled with large tables, and there are bar tops and chairs at each court. So between games, you don't have to leave your friends. You can grab some wings, a beer, sit courtside, and continue to heckle your friends for their poor dinking ability.
Wait. So this is basically like Buffalo Wild Wings, but with pickleball.
You got it. That's going to be the flying pickle coming to Post Falls. It's going to be at kind of near State Line at one of those big new sort of warehousey type buildings.
I got to be honest. I hate it. I hate it so much. But you know what? It's probably gonna do really well.
I mean, it better at $5 million for the build out. It better be cash flow pretty massively.
Wow. They're gonna have to sell a lot of sour beers to those millennials.
Telling you, man, the debt service alone on that kind of a build out, do you really got to be hammering gross sales?
What are the odds? The odds are high that some part of this has been financed through some government bullshit program, some grant. I'm sure of it, some grant or some urban renewal district bullshit money that's being set aside for it or something. You know, they go out to the State Line area, they find a patch of ground, they declare it a blight, and then all of a sudden urban renewal district money gets poured into it. I guarantee you that's what's going on here.
It's like, I'm sorry, this area is not blighted. Like, okay, let's dispatch a county worker in a white pickup truck to go spray paint some graffiti on a cinder block in the middle of the field. Okay, now it's blight, so now we need some government money.
Whoosh. Blighted.
Before we take a little breather to describe the value for value model, which is what this show runs on, let's leave the first segment by going back to the depths, way down 8th Circle, 4th Pit.
The Idaho Women's March returns to the Idaho State House tomorrow. It's been 9 years since the first Women's March, where an estimated 5,000 people filled the front of the Capitol. That as a response to the beginning of the first term of President Donald Trump. This year's theme is Feminist Power is People Power. Things get underway tomorrow at 12:30.
Is this like hashtag we're all women?
To the extent that we know what women are. Imagine the hubris it takes to say that you speak on behalf of an entire group like that. It's the Women's March. Oh, really? What about the millions of women who do not agree with why you're here or anything you stand for?
Nothing supports the movement of women more than allowing men to beat the shit out of women in sports.
You mean trans girls and women competing in the sports that align with their gender identity?
Yeah, well, all I know is that the people who go to these protests, and I'm generalizing, but 90% or more, it's got to be, who go to these types of protests are the same people who in one breath will tell you hashtag believe women, hashtag me too, hashtag femboss, girl boss, it's all about women, blah, blah, blah. But also men can be women too, and they should get to play sports with us and dominate us in dressing rooms and on the courts.
Your language is not absolute enough. It's not that men can be women. It's that men are women. Trans women are women. Is what their
well, according to the theme of this year's march, we're all women. I just didn't know it yet, I guess.
Here's another version.
Checks pants. Nope, still not a woman.
Here's another version of the quote reporting on this event.
Hundreds gathered on the steps of the Capitol earlier today for the annual Women's March. Their goal was to restore reproductive rights and privacy to every Idaho woman and every Idaho family. Idahoans United for Women and Families were gathering signatures for the Reproductive Freedom and Privacy Act, adding on to the 63,000 signatures they've already gathered nationwide.
There are a lot of Idahoans who know that we're in crisis. Idaho's trigger ban has created a medical crisis, a moral crisis, and our incredible volunteers statewide are addressing that.
The Women's March is happening nationwide today as a part of the Free America walkout protest. And its goal is to encourage people to walk out of work and school to protest against injustice.
Wow. Mm-hmm. That checks all the boxes. Like, we're not going to walk out of work so we can protest the inability to slaughter our own children because female power, I guess.
What about all the women who don't agree with your position on abortion?
Well, obviously, they should be burned at the stake, and they're not real women.
Witches.
In fact, women who don't agree with other women are less female than females with dicks.
They unironically think exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
What a time to be alive. I want to hear the phrasing one more time of what the theme of the march.
This year's theme is Feminist Power is People Power.
There it is. Feminist power is people power. Yeah.
We're all in this together. Mask up, take your vaccines, do what we say. Bodily autonomy is the most important issue when I want to kill my own child, but not for everyone else when they want to just go to work and move about the country without a vaccine passport.
All that said, this show runs on the value for value model. No ID is a value for value proposition. So this is what, hey, we're going to work. Paul and I are at work right now. Hey, you know what? Should we actually just turn off the recording and go outside and protest? Let's just march on. I'm going to go march down my cul-de-sac.
Yeah, I'm going to protest paying taxes, though. That's what I'm going to protest. I'm going to protest something that actually is worth protesting.
Get ready. Well, yeah, get ready to not be covered by any of these outlets. By the way, if you notice, the NPR one was...
The Idaho Women's March returns to the Idaho State House tomorrow.
They're actually promoting it. They're saying like, hey, this event is coming up. So now where's the reporting on Paul Banducci's tax protest? Hey, tomorrow, a trans denier up in Clark Fork is going to be protesting, is going to be, what should we say, advocating taking money away from children.
Yeah, all of those things. Although I got you on the one thing. I mean, I'm not a trans denier. I realize they exist. I just submit that they don't get to beat women up in sports or change in front of my daughter.
Denier.
They also need help. World got you down? Try trans bands. The sunglasses that take all the pain away.
Oakley and Arnett, eat your heart out. That's the new sunglasses for Gen A. Trans bands.
Trans bands.
Anyhow, yes, I was saying value for value. This show runs on that model. Thank you. Because we don't
a free pair of trans band sunglasses with every donation to the No ID podcast.
This show is not brought to you by trans bands. It is brought to you by nobody, because sponsors are the meetings suck and they tell you what to say and what not to say, and you basically get influenced to promote that which we might not wish to promote. So instead, we run on the value for value model, which we're gratefully borrowing from Adam and John. They are the pioneers of it, and we are stewards of it. And what it means is contributing back value to this program if you find it valuable. That means time, talent, or treasure. The time and talent portion is huge. I did have a couple of conversations this week with people who were like eagerly giving me boots on the ground reports, which is great.
Yeah, we love that stuff.
Yes, but as I was telling them, like, please write it down and send it in so that I can read it on the show. And both of them assured me that they would do that, including one who works in the city of Spokane and had some inside knowledge on the whole coroner situation. So I said, don't tell me that. Just write it down and send it in. So as of showtime, I had not received that. So hopefully he'll get it in for next week's show. He knows who he is.
You can always
we love
email us, Facebook message us, text us if you have our numbers. You could snail mail us, I suppose. The post office still exists and loses $60 billion a year. But go ahead, slap a stamp on it. Smoke signals if you're close enough. Also carrier pigeons from time to time. Those work too.
I'm looking out the window at I can see the ridge of the mountain sort of across the way, and I think I see a flashing light. So somebody, I think, is using a mirror to reflect the sun toward me. So that type of messaging is welcome as well.
I'm ashamed to say it won't work for me. I don't know Morse code. I should, but I don't.
We live up of in the mountains.
In the mountains. Didn't we have a contributor last week
We have more than one.
Shouted them out.
More than one. Yeah, I'm going to get to it in a moment. NoIDshow.com is where you go to do all that. There's clickable buttons for contact at the bottom of the page, as well as links for contributing the treasure portion of Time, Talent, and Treasure, which is very, very appreciated. You become an executive.
And actually, just in case anybody's curious, sorry for interrupting, Scott, but if anybody's curious, what does Scott and Paul do with all those shiny schmeckles? Well, we hoard them. Like dragons.
Speak for yourself, dude. I'm a Jew. I lend them out to people at interest.
Oh, that's smart. You see, I'm not a Jew, so I just fill up my bathtub with pennies.
I got to leave mine clear for home brew.
Oh yeah, no, I've been playing this game all wrong. Actually, to be honest, we just we use it for gear for the show. So thanks, guys, for helping us get the microphones and the pod mobile stuff, and appreciate it a lot. Thank you.
So yes, any financial contribution, the treasure portion renders you an executive producer of that episode. Today is episode number 12, and we do have a couple of executive producers this week. Our homie Kevin Killian is back with $75, and this time Kevin did include a note. He said, "Happy for the credit as executive producer. Love the show, boys."
Yeah, you know what else he likes to do is lord it over me when I see him in the cigar lounge. He goes, "I'm an executive producer now." Thrice.
Really?
And I go, "Yeah, I know. What do you want?"
Wait a minute. Have you been back to the lounge and you didn't call me?
Not for a few weeks. No, but the second to last time I was in, they were having an event. So I got to hang out with Kevin and smoke some cigars. And actually, that was Christmas Eve. That was Christmas Eve when I last saw Kevin. But Kevin's the man. Thanks, Kevin. You're a good dude. I love you, buddy.
Very appreciated, Kevin. Thank you. And this episode's other executive producer with a donation of $69. We see what you did there. Is Jack Cramer. And Cracker Jack says, "Having a gay old time" is his note. That's his note. So no thanks, no like the show, no nothing like that. He just says for a gay old time.
Come over for a gay time.
A fellow lover of Dan Guggen, I see. Well, Cracker Jack, we have a lot in common.
I felt really gay last night.
Thank you, Jack. Very appreciated, dude.
Thanks, brother. Yes, sir. Thank you very
Contributions
much.
of value are what it's all about. So value for value.
Yeah.
And to become an executive producer of episode number 13 of the show or any other one, go to noidshow.com.
noidshow.com. noidshow.com.
All right. Scott, you know what time it is? It's that time again.
Oh, yeah.
It's time. The timeliest of times.
Putting on my headband. I'm gonna do some jumping
The one
jacks.
and only time. For the time.
I'm shadow boxing.
Known as Scott's Shots. Oh, yeah. You pumped? Get ready. Put on your gloves. Yeah. Because we're not throwing in the towel yet. Scott Shots, baby. Here's what I got for you. I'm pretty stoked. I think this one's going to hit you right in the feels. I hope you've limbered up. Owner breaks news to artist community. Shares timeline of unfortunate events. The Art Spirit Gallery is closing in Coeur d'Alene. And while it was not necessarily planned, a series of unfortunate events over the years heightened the urgency of this difficult situation.
Mm-hmm.
Scott, now is the time to take your shot. What do you think is the primary reason for the closure of this art gallery?
Can I ask a clarifying question or two?
You may phone a friend, yes.
Okay. Is this a recent closure? Is this just happening now?
It is happening now.
Happening now.
Meow.
So Art Spirit is on Sherman, right? I'm thinking of the right place.
Correct.
And
you should know all about Art Spirit. You're an art person.
Been so focused on doing the audio for this show that I have not followed any other stuff. That's fair.
It's a lot of work.
It is. Well, I mean, I have to draw on my experience with other people who don't think about the language they're using or give too much thought as to what actually happened. And the language they would use for what is causing the closure, the first reason, it's either going to be COVID or the pandemic. And I think the likelihood of it being, quote, the pandemic is overwhelming. So I'm going to go with the pandemic. Hey, it's too easy.
Financial struggles. The COVID-19 pandemic, and a flood of economic uncertainties all led to this point. Of course, the flood of economic uncertainties are rooted mostly in the COVID-19 pandemic. But, of course, the pandemic itself, not the government shutdowns. So I do feel for this poor lady, but she, as they're interviewing her, they've been running it for many, many years. And she says last year they were down 42% in sales, 42%. So another question for you, Scott, again, being connected to the art world. Have you been seeing such a trend across the art gallery community or the high art community? Are you seeing a trend of lower sales and or closures?
Yes, distinctly so. And in contemporary art, I have a line to that world because, as I mentioned on the last show, my younger brother has a contemporary art gallery based in Los Angeles. And yes, this last year was down for, I'm pretty sure, across the board. And from what I understand, a lot of collectors, maybe even especially the high-end collectors, the Boku bucks, the nosebleed collectors, have pulled back their purchasing dramatically. Mostly, I believe this to be true, the sort of economic uncertainty, which is, this all goes back to 2020. That's what this is all about. It's all about devaluation of the currency and all the, I don't need to be a broken record on this stuff. That's the source of it. And I know that the art market fluctuates anyway. It ebbs and flows as everything does. But yes, this is a trend across the board in the art world.
I figured you would know. Yeah, and not to make light of what is a sad situation, because the gallery has been around for decades, and the gal who has the unpleasant task of shutting it down is the second or third owner. And when they took over, they had problems right out of the gate. Actually, she says, when we came to an agreement where we were going to transfer ownership in May of 2020, lo and behold, in March of 2020, COVID hit. The bank pulled our funding, and my husband and I had just taken equity out of our home to build a much-needed garage. Instead, that money was used to keep the gallery open. So a tale as old as time, or at least the last 5 years, is government shutdowns, wrecking lives. But I bet you the odds of these folks having supported the shutdowns and the masking and all that are probably pretty high, wouldn't you say? Because again, we're talking about the arts community, which is not exactly known as a bastion of liberty or common sense.
The language itself is a giveaway. And in this case, because the propaganda and the framing has been so ubiquitous and so relentless for 5.5, now coming up on 6 years, almost everybody does it, including people who are against what happened, which is unfortunate because the framing and the language absolves the perpetrator for their actions. So when she says, unfortunately, in March, COVID hit, COVID, to the extent that it's a thing, hit many, many months before that, because, they're saying, though, the first documented cases were in like October, August, October 2019 is when it surfaced. So, quote, COVID hit sometime in the year of 2019. In March of 2020, what actually hit was totalitarian government. But because what the government blames for its totalitarianism is used as the language, it absolves the perpetrator. It'd be like saying, during the Jewish problem in 1943, Berlin was mostly destroyed because of, when the Jewish problem hit, Berlin was mostly destroyed. No, that's just what the government blamed for its totalitarianism. You absolve the government by using that sort of language, but everybody does it.
It's when you speak to folks in these industries or on this side of the philosophical debate, it's so reminiscent of talking to like that scene from Zoolander, talking to people in the fashion industry or the art industry, where it's just like you lay it all out for them. You explain all of these things that are all basic concepts. And then at the end of it all, they look at you and they go,
But why male models?
Like, wait, are you kidding? I just told you. Now, to be fair, just to roll this one up and move along, they did have some other things going on too. They had some issues, health issues they had to struggle with, and also a flood that hit the basement of the gallery a year after the COVID shutdowns hit them. So it was, a series of events. But as a small business owner, and Scott, you also being a small business owner, I guess both of us former small business owners at the moment, but I'm sure we will both be regular business owners again in the near future. $150,000, which is what they had to use to keep their business afloat out of their own pockets. I mean, that's no small thing, man. That's a massive chunk of change.
It's a big deal.
That now, instead of getting to allocate either for your own home or to invest in your business, now you're allocating just to stay afloat. That is a massive handicap.
Yes,
so
it is.
While it was not the only reason, I would argue it was the primary reason by a wide margin.
Well, and by her own omission. I mean, we're just using her words, right, from what she said to in this article.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But if you are in the market potentially for discount art, I don't know if you're going to do that or not.
Fire sale.
Now might be the time.
Liquidating the inventory. Yeah.
Yep. Because they said, Williams said she does not have a closing date at this time. So the art gallery is still open as far as we know, as she and her team are taking it one step at a time. But typically in a situation like this, I'm loath to use the term fire sale, but we're going to use the term fire sale. Might be some time to pick up some art on the cheap, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, I like that gallery. Some of the stuff that's in there is cool, and maybe I'm going to have to go down there and check it out.
So,
I
do feel for her because I mean, I lost, I lost a business right at the end of 2020.
Oh, it sucks. Yeah, no, I feel for her too. I struggle with the juxtaposition of the sympathy and empathy I feel for her, while having aggravation at the lack of critical thought and reflection that has gone into why she finds herself in the position she finds herself in. I would say, too, before we move on 100%. From this story, just quickly, you were like, well, I'm sure at some point in the future, you and I will once again be small business owners. No ID LLC exists. We currently are.
I've been told. Yes, correct, sir. Thank you. Thank you for the reminder.
Okay,
We do. We even have a bank account into which the value for value model works. Woo.
You got it. Let's go to this quick one from Rathdrum. I'm not sure if you followed any of this. I didn't know about it. I kind of did a little quick research after I heard this because I was like, who is this guy?
Brandon Durst has made his way back into the news this week. You may remember that the former legislator became the superintendent of a North Idaho school district, but then left amidst a flurry of lawsuits and countersuits, and the State Board of Education saying that Durst didn't have any qualifications to be a superintendent. Now, Idaho Ed News is reporting that the West Bonner School District has settled out of court with Durst, with neither side saying anything about how they settled. Idaho Ed News submitted a public records request regarding the settlement. The school district has not sent a response.
So I did a little bit of research to try to figure out, what might those numbers look like? And this is speculative. I think it's something like he was getting $160 a year, but then for a multiple year contract, but then they reneged and they probably settled for something like $70K. Again, those numbers are speculative, but I think that's what they are.
An article about it in passing. 62.5 was the number I saw. That was the number.
It was reported. Okay, I missed it.
I didn't read the whole article. I will admit. I saw the headline. I saw the first paragraph, and I saw the number 62.5, and then the word settlement next to it. So,
okay. Well, I'm glad to know that my speculation was sort of in the right vein.
Yeah, you almost were spot on. Assuming what I saw was correct and that I deduced properly from my skimming, that was the settlement amount, $62,500. So, which is really interesting because there's a lot of controversy surrounding Mr. Durst. And he's one of those characters in Idaho you either love or you hate to love, or you love to hate. A good example of the conservative camp that, for a time, I don't know if this has changed or not. I hope it's changed. But for a time, thought one of the best ways to combat the ills of state-run indoctrination camps otherwise known as public schools, was to take over the boards and take over the positions of like superintendent or head of the boards, or at least get a majority on the school boards. And this movement in Idaho just began 10 years ago, and it may have already petered out. I kind of hope it has, really, because it hasn't been effective. It has ruined a lot of people's lives. And the press and the establishment really have done a great job of smearing anybody who's tried, who has won or gotten in there and made attempts. And Durst is one of those victims. Now, a lot of his wounds are self-inflicted. There's the other thing, too, is that a lot of these players on this stage don't do a great job of minding their P's and Q's, minding what they say when they're being interviewed or what's on public record. And some of them do absolutely kind of have the look and feel of charlatans and carpetbaggers who come in from out of town, don't really have a vested interest in the community itself, try to take over the boards, and then don't mind their P's and Q's. And then wouldn't you know it, people get big mad, the press picks up on it, the narrative is super easy then to twist and turn to fit the more leftist agenda in those establishments. And then bada bing, bada boom, you got Brandon Durst. So that's how that stuff goes. That's kind of the textbook. Interesting, though, that they settled. But
here are some more
that's what I got on that one.
School budget stuff. Okay, so here's NPR's coverage of what happened after it, because it had its first day. So here's NPR reporting what happened after the first day.
More than 3,000 Idaho families have already applied for the Idaho Parental Choice Tax Cut, and that is after just one day of the window being open for applications. $5,000 per student, $7,500 for students with disabilities.
So and NPR does the same thing, where they make it sound like it's a check in the mail.
Of course.
The intent is to help pay for private school tuition and other expenses. The cap for the program this year is $50 million, and the State Tax Commission says it will be taking those applications as they come, first served.
Now here is the Democrats calling for, we've discussed on, plenty of times, and you would probably intuit, even if we didn't, that the Democrats are against it, and the world is, coming to an end on account of it.
Idaho Democratic leaders are calling for a pause on the state's new parental choice tax credit program. The program gives families up to $5,000 for private school expenses, but the Democrats say there's no way to
They do it too. You're so full of crap.
The program gives families up to $5,000 for private school expenses.
We're rich.
But the Democrats say there's no way to prevent fraud before money is handed out.
The Democrats.
Oh, what? Now they care about fraud?
Oh my
Now they care about fraud.
It's so good.
The Democrats say there's no way to prevent fraud before money is handed out through an advance payment option. They point to other states where similar voucher funds were misused. The lawmakers want verification systems in place before any more advance payments go out.
Oh, yeah. They want to
for the first time in forever, we have an opportunity for people to get their own money back. And the Democrats are like,
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
We care now. We care about where the money goes. We can't be having this happen. The money might get used and abused and misused and fraud.
Okay, let's do as long as we're on schools, let's keep the train rolling. Here is the other Coeur d'Alene Press editorial you sent me on Coeur d'Alene School District's financials.
An independent financial audit found the Coeur d'Alene School District had stronger than expected financial results for fiscal year 2025. Hayden Ross, an accounting firm from Moscow, delivered the audit report to the school board trustees Monday evening. The report showed Coeur d'Alene School District ended the fiscal year with a general fund balance of $18.9 million, an increase of more than $4.8 million from the previous year. The strong audit results reinforce the district's long-term commitment to transparency and fiscal responsibility. Board Chair Leslie Bierka said the district is financially strong, stable, and forward-looking. We take our responsibility as...
Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-chingery. Money, oh money, how I love thee. Cha-ching, cha-chong, cha-changaroo. From pennies to dollars, any amount will do.
They're feeling pretty good about life, aren't they?
Wait till you hear what the superintendent still thinks they need. Whoops, wrong
Oh,
button.
I bet I know. I'll take more money for $1 billion, Trebek.
We take our responsibility as stewards of public dollars very seriously and are committed to transparency in all financial matters, ensuring our community can clearly see how funds are managed and where every dollar goes, she said. Superintendent Sean Hawker said careful planning.
By the way, I looked up Sean Hawker's salary, which is public information. He makes $195,000 a year.
I'm like, wait, hold on. I thought you were going to ask Paul this.
No, I have a different. I have a different Ask Paul. So sorry, dude.
And that doesn't count health benefits. That doesn't count retirement, pension stuff. That doesn't count the fact that they don't work year round. Woo. It is good to be in education.
Superintendent Sean Hawker said careful planning, conservative budgeting, and teamwork across departments helped ensure that the district finished fiscal year 2025 ahead of projections.
But not my salary, Hawker said. Don't touch that.
These results demonstrate our district's culture of financial transparency and responsible stewardship of taxpayer dollars in our schools, departments, and the district office, while we continue to prioritize the needs and success of our students and staff, Hawker said. While the district is in a strong financial position, that strength does not replace the need for levy support.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
But
we need more. Please give us more. That's because while we continue to prioritize the needs and success of our students and staff, and my $200,000 a year salary, give us more.
We need to make sure there's a reserve fund for the next time we need to buy boxes of masks for the kids.
Local levy dollars provide roughly 25% of its annual operating budget and are essential to sustaining daily operations, staffing, and programs. A solid fund balance and reliable levy funding work together to ensure basic services and reflect the district's careful planning and responsible stewardship of public funds.
Except for when we close schools entirely but continue to pay ourselves.
Yes.
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Tyler Morton, Executive Director of Finance for the district, said it's prudent to maintain a strong fund balance in the event of unforeseen circumstances that could affect the district's ability to pay teachers and staff and cover operating expenses. This outcome exceeds the target set by the district's budget subcommittee and the minimum fund balance of 2 months of expenses recommended by government financial experts. Professional development.
You know what? This is boring. You kind of get the idea. Like, you know, there's a surplus, but don't you think about not passing that next levy. You better vote correctly. Otherwise, we'll just keep putting it on the ballot until you do.
So it's actually the primary reason why I sent you this article was when I read the first paragraph, and so I had to read it. And of course I knew they were going to be like, well, we're doing great. Things are great, but we're going to ask for more anyways, every time. Don't you dare for 1 second think you're going to get tax relief. On one hand, you got to kind of give them some credit because most school districts don't even get this far. You know what I mean? The bar is really low, but good job, Coeur d'Alene School District, for being
not running a
Shitty.
deficit. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's sad that we're excited about that, I guess, but it is true. It's all relative, and relatively speaking, this is something for them to be proud of. And I think a lot of people are going to be happy about this. And in one way, from a particular perspective, they should be happy about it.
Let's move on from schools and budget and do this quick fun one on hunting.
Idaho Fish and Game is proposing new regulations on hunting technology this legislative session. They're considering this because of how quickly hunting technology is advancing. Some of the regulations would be that hunters cannot use drones or use night vision for scouting, hunting, and retrieval. It would also regulate the use of thermal imaging technology and trail cameras. Hunters say they understand the need for regulations, but don't want the new rules to affect their freedom to hunt.
Yeah, I want the freedom to fly my drone with a belt-fed machine gun so I can just take out moose from the sky.
I mean, that seems pretty sporting to me. I don't know what the problem is. In fact, I think we should be able to go hunting pheasants with a tank.
I'm going to hunt a panther with a Panzer.
I see what you did there.
Thank you. Thank you.
First off, what are you doing with the drone in the first place? Are you just scouting out the lay of the land and figuring out where you're going to set up? Or
I guess so. That's
trying
what
to
I would
figure out
assume.
where the animals are hiding, or like, how does that work? The trail cams have been a thing since trail cams have been a thing. I don't understand what the problem is there. But was it infrared?
Would be that hunters cannot use drones or use night vision for scouting, hunting.
Night vision.
Yeah.
Well, for hunting, that's already illegal. I mean, you're not allowed to use light beams for deer hunting anyways. So I guess that makes sense, but it's not going to stop there.
Here's a fun one about a poacher who was caught, and his shaggy defense of it wasn't me.
An Idaho County man has been banned from hunting for life after being caught poaching multiple animals. Carl Van Loon of Cottonwood was caught after a rancher found a box of deer parts with Van Loon's address on it.
That's not mine. A box of deer parts.
With Van Loon's address on it. Van Loon initially denied the box was his.
I'm telling you, baby, that's not mine.
Van Loon initially denied the box was his.
I don't even know what this is. This sort of thing ain't my bag, baby.
Van Loon initially denied the box was his, but later admitted to killing a deer 12 days before hunting season opened.
One book, Swedish-made penis enlarger pumps and me. This sort of thing is my bag, baby.
Officials also discovered an illegal baiting site on his property and found evidence he poached several deer and a moose. Van Loon pleaded guilty to 6 felonies and 9 misdemeanors. He received the lifetime hunting ban, 10 days in jail, and $10,000 in fines.
Wow.
They really don't
that
like poachers.
So. Well, no, they shouldn't. We shouldn't. That's one thing that is not tolerable. The dude had a box of deer bones?
Deer parts with his address on
deer
it.
parts.
Van Loon's address on it.
So they roll up and they're like, hey, is this yours? And he says,
I'm telling you, baby, that's not mine.
Van Loon initially denied the box was his.
Officer, that's not ours. Candy bars. Littering and? Littering and? Littering and? Littering and? Littering and? Littering and? Littering and smoking the reefer. That's not mine.
6 felonies. Boom.
Oh, it's so good. Hey, man, that doesn't belong to me. I don't know what you guys are doing with that.
I'm holding it for somebody.
It's my friends. Yeah.
This is just the way that they report it is the best. There's a box of deer parts. Which deer parts?
Here is a shitty story. I think this one was also Rathdrum, but it's a fun illustration of the Gell-Mann effect.
A Rathdrum woman was attacked by a dog over the weekend. Her name is Amanda Morton, and she had to actually have emergency surgery after this attack.
Did you catch her name?
Her name is Amanda Morton, and she...
Amanda Morton?
Morton.
We live up kind of in the mountains.
We live in the Mortons.
Her name is Amanda Morton, and she had to actually have emergency surgery after this attack. Rathdrum police say the attack happened last Saturday, and now Amanda is recovering. Right now, Rathdrum police are investigating what happened.
She was attacked by a dog.
She was?
That's what happened.
Yeah, so the investigation shall commence. It's like, well, no, I'm telling you, it was a rat terrier, and it honestly, actually, I saw a photo of it because there was a GoFundMe set up for this lady, and I clicked on it, and it had some photos of her, including her, like some of the damage done, and this dog bit half her freaking lip off. I mean, this was some, it was nasty. Yeah. So, and they also didn't, they didn't note the breed. Now, whenever there's a pit bull attack, they always note that it was a pit bull, but if it's a different breed, they often don't. And but so the reason I'm even bringing this to the show is this kind of a tragic, shitty situation. Like, why is it noteworthy? Well, Amanda Morton is not her name. Her name is Amanda Norton, Norton. Which, so that's a small thing. But there is. Have you heard of the Gell-Mann effect? Do you know what that Gell-Mann amnesia?
No, but I do know that the gal who was reporting this had the same issues then that the Holmes fellow from Alabama did, getting the names wrong to the people they were addressing.
Yeah. Mr. Hutchins, it's McCutcheon.
Mr. Hutchins, McGuffin.
We've been sitting next to each other on the State House floor for 8 years, you asshole.
I've been on this subcommittee since the 50s. How do you not know me?
So Gell-Mann, I pulled it up. There's a concise definition. The principle, commonly called Gell-Mann amnesia, describes the tendency to notice clear errors or oversimplification in media coverage of topics you know well. But then you turn the page and uncritically accept reporting on other topics, forgetting that the same outlet just demonstrated unreliability. So, in other words, unless you actually looked into this, which unless you're doing a show like this, you didn't. People who heard this report just heard it and then they moved right on to the Pfizer commercial. Yeah, the lady's name was Amanda Norton. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Even though this is a small one, it's a demonstration of how often inaccuracies in reporting are parts of stories. They're constant. Literally every story is rife with inaccuracies.
HB 93 is going to give $5,000 to families for private schools.
Or $7,500 if your
right
child is Mongo.
Cash in hand, baby. And that's why it needs to be stopped. I didn't know there was a name for that. Mel, what was it? Mel what?
Gell-Mann. It's Gell-Mann. It's named after a guy. Named after Murray Gell-Mann.
So I didn't even know such a state of being required a clinical name. I mean, I guess everything has a clinical name. But in my mind, that's just called common sense, knowing that you're being lied to and that it applies across the board. What did I miss?
Well, you're missing the part where it's not common.
Right.
Okay, let's do Ask Paul.
At the Capitol, Idaho agency presentations to the Joint Finance Appropriation Committee, or JFAC, have begun. That as state budget analysts and agency heads present on the money they say they need and why they need it. The State Department of Health and Welfare, one of Idaho's largest and most costly operations, has been up first. Medicaid spending faces cuts, and Senate Democrat Melissa Windrow noted the committee managing the money does not hold public hearings on the matter. JFAC co-chair Republican Representative Josh Tanner says the public gets its say in hearings held by House and Senate Health and Welfare committees. The full committee is painting a rosy economic outlook when it comes to Idaho's tax revenue of the coming year.
JFAC believes the state will take in about $5.82 billion in the next fiscal year, strengthened by last month's resurgence in corporate income tax. Senate Democratic leader Melissa Windrow says that gives her hope.
I think this is an indication that, hey, we don't have to make these deep cuts that people are talking about, and people don't have to suffer then. So our state employees, Medicaid recipients, and so forth.
Mm-hmm. So that's the people who do not. Thank God the people don't have to suffer. Forget everyone else in the state.
They don't have to suffer.
Government employees and people getting their health insurance paid for by others, they don't have to suffer.
And people don't have to suffer then. So our state employees, Medicaid recipients, and so forth.
But Republican Representative Josh Tanner, who co-chairs JFAC,
here comes the Ask Paul.
Republican Representative Josh Tanner, who co-chairs JFAC, tempered expectations. He says that additional money might instead pay for things left out of the governor's budget, like
what?
Ooh. Oh, this is good. You always bring me the best stuff.
I'm going to play it one more time.
He says that additional money might instead pay for things left out of the governor's budget, like
there's like 12 different things this dude could be thinking of. My knee-jerk reaction is to say expanded school choice is what I really hope he's going to say. But that'd be my optimistic answer. My pessimistic answer would be like pay for more things like more cops or something like that. Or back to optimistic, more. But the way he phrases it, it's probably not going to be this, but like more tax breaks. Am I close
think
on either side?
Think about the most pat answer that the no thinkers give when talking about state revenue and what it pays for.
The no thinkers, like the we don't want more taxes.
Yeah, I'm
thinkers?
sorry,
That's a no cuts thinkers.
That's a weird way to phrase it. No, people who instinctively defend the state and at gathering as much revenue as it can because
oh God, okay, now I know it's for schools, for my schools. Of course, it's going to be for my schools.
Did not get this one. I'm a bit surprised. You'll know it the second you hear it. You're going to kick yourself.
Local road projects. He says that additional money might instead pay for things left out of the governor's budget, like local road projects.
The roads,
My roads. Yeah, that one's usually up there too. I was being hopeful. See, that's what I get for being overly optimistic. I'm thinking, you know, maybe they're going to give some of it back. Maybe they'll tax us less. Usually education is the other thing, because Republicans who want to earn brownie points usually bring up education. Well, more money for education. Vote for me now. Roads. My roads.
The roads.
But they already gas tax the shit out of us for too.
Shh. Just listen to your leaders.
It has not taken long for a change in leadership at Ketchum City Hall to affect change with how and when leadership interacts with the public.
Listen to this. It's crazy. I mean, I know it's way down in Ketchum, and this is about North Idaho, but just listen again.
It has not taken long for a change in leadership at Ketchum City Hall to affect change with how and when leadership interacts with the public.
When does leadership interact with the public that it lords over?
It has not.
Hello, peasants. Yeah, this is the language that is used just wall to wall by everybody. They aren't leaders. Yeah. Why do people want to be slaves so badly?
The mainstream narrative, as we are breaking it down every single episode, it's leaders.
It's nuts, isn't it?
But that's because the mainstream media is the mouthpiece for the leaders. So, you know, just like a king who has a herald, the state and the leaders have their mouthpiece in the mainstream and establishment media and its acolytes and all that. And then to your question, I mean, holy smokes, that's a question you've asked a couple times on this podcast today, Scott. Why do people crave to be led so badly?
Lead me.
We could do 10 podcasts to try and unpack all of that.
Lead me, Daddy.
There's a lot there, but yeah. Govern me harder, Daddy. Yeah, but not that boot. I like the other boot. I like the brown leather, not the black leather. Or, you know, I like the flavor of this boot leather more. That's why I'm a libertarian, because, you know, I want the blue leather. No, I want the red leather. I'm over here going, can we just not have boots on our necks? That'd be cool. Yeah.
Man, what color leather will the leaders' boots be today?
As long as it's the one I like, as long as it punishes my enemies harder than it punishes me, I'm happy with it. As long as there are crumbs to lick off the bottom of the boot, I prefer that kind of leather.
Good times. Again, I don't know that we had anything uplifting on this week's show. It might have just been another belt-fed volley of downer. Am I wrong about that? I hope I am.
Oh, I feel like we had... Well, they caught the guy that had a box full of deer parts. That's a good thing.
It wasn't his.
Oh. So, it's going to be a good thing when they catch the guy whose box full of deer parts it was.
With Van Loon's address on it.
Had his address on it.
That's my favorite.
Van Loon initially denied the box was his.
It's not mine.
One book, Swedish-made penis enlarger pumps and me. This sort of thing is my bag, baby.
It's my bit of the tisms. I can't stop with these sound bites. So if you'll forgive me,
it's pretty good. No, I've recently discovered the joy and the wonders of sound bites as well. It's too much fun.
Well, please remember us at noidshow.com, and time, talent, and treasure is greatly appreciated. If you're finding our program valuable, please contribute back to the show. Thank you to those who
or if you find a random box of deer parts and you want to call it in, we'll take your call.
Thank you for calling the No ID Show. This is Scott. How can I help you?
Hey, I found this box. It's not mine.
You're holding it for a friend?
For a friend, yeah.
Well, what's in it?
Yeah. Things that rhyme with beer. Farts. Rhymes with beer farts.
Queer darts?
Queer darts. We're not at the Crown and Thistle, sir.
You think they're going to have queer darts at the Flying Pickle? We think of queer darts as a show title. It will be like demonetized or deplatformed.
Man, I don't know. That sounds like clickbait to me. Let's do it.
Queer darts. All right, there it is. Show title in the closing
Queer
segment.
darts.
Show art sort of rhymes with clear darts. I wonder what ChatGPT is going to generate for me this week. And until we find out, from Post Falls, I'm Scott.
And I'm Paul. Taxation is theft. A free pair of trans band sunglasses with every donation to the No ID podcast.